We'll start right now. Hey, it's February 2026. AI is crazy, and we're going to talk about it from the community college instructor point of view. We're in the age of agents, and we're talking about ways in which we as instructors at the community college level can utilize these tools in really, really smart ways to help our students learn. My name is Jordan O'Connell. With me today, I've got Shannon Brenner and Jeremy Durelle. All of us are from Northeast Iowa Community College, and we thought we'd have a short chat about some of the neat things we're doing in our own teaching context. We teach in different disciplines, different programs, but wanted to kind of put our heads together and kind of figure out kind of what's next and how far could we take this in terms of our ability to leverage AI in terms of our own instruction. Shannon, what's the vibe like where you're at? What's going on? What have you been experimenting with and trying in this regard?
Well, for me, it's largely how can I use AI to help do things like offload some of the evaluation process of student work so that I can focus more on content. So for a writing class, that might mean letting the AI handle the grammar feedback so that I have more time to think about the student, to really dig into the student's critical thinking. Um, it could also help with authenticity checking. We constantly at our institution have instructors who want to use AI detectors. But I think that if we can use AI more strategically, we can find better ways to ensure that students' work is authentic. So those are the
It's been really,
kinds of avenues I'm looking down.
It's surprising to me just how often this topic has come up because like when ChatGPT launched, I think there was a month there where a few of us had kind of played with it and we were kind of talking about it and we saw it sort of write paragraphs. I mean, you teach English, for example. The realization was this has to change everything. And now we're a couple of years in, we're almost like 3 years into this, and only now is it kind of reaching that fever pitch, at least at our community college, where instructors are really kind of scrambling for answers. Like they've sort of realized that like the way that they've always kind of done it needs to change. And they are looking for the silver bullet, and AI detection kind of promises it in a lot of contexts. But our students are really, really smart. And our students, even those that are probably misusing AI, they're looking for workarounds, right? Tools that try to mask AI misuse, or they sort of understand that on a basic mathematical level, it's hard to prove what's human and what's AI now, and they're pushing back. And so we definitely need solutions, and AI checkers kind of aren't solving it in a lot of contexts. In my own instance, I realized I need to change the way that I assess learners. And so teaching online or face-to-face, easier to kind of mix it up face-to-face. But for me, switching to oral assessments in the online space where I've got students leveraging the video note tool in Brightspace to make recordings was kind of my solution for the past couple of years, made easier by COVID and the switch to so much use of video. However, we are entering into an era in which video itself cannot be trusted in the same way. So I'm kind of where you're at in terms of trying to use tools like Google AI Studio to develop something like a TA, something like a supplemental instructor, something that can help me evaluate work, speed up my own processes so that I can change the way I assess and focus on the individual learner and personalize instruction. I think that's the kind of thing, and I can talk more about it later in the recording here, but that's the kind of thing I think I'll need to do. Getting to know each student individually in some contexts, I can't change my method of assessment. So getting to know students means I need more time. AI might save me a lot of time, and then I can kind of focus on the learner. So we've been talking about so many different topics. Jeremy, do you want to kind of jump in with what you're thinking about or where your journey is at here in early 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I can echo exactly what you two were just talking about. For me, it was coming down to assessments in science. Like I teach physics and chemistry, and the assessments that I like to deliver are non-textbook based. I've used textbook based platforms before, but I was not really satisfied with their evaluation. It was kind of all or nothing, and you didn't get to see any of their work. I like assigning custom questions and receiving their handwritten work to evaluate. But of course, that requires a lot of kind of manual intensive work on my part, especially when I've got something like 200 students at any point, and it's not really feasible. And I wanted to be able to give real personalized feedback that's kind of unique and specific to each student. which is also something I wasn't getting on platforms. So I had reached out, or I began a search through various AI tools, and I wanted something kind of specific. There are already AI tools for grammar and essay writing and that sort of thing, but I wasn't finding any for physics, especially handwritten submissions, or chemistry, like any STEM specific assessments, which is what I really wanted. And I wanted not just a grade; I wanted it to go through, each question like I would. I wanted to do what I do, only a lot faster and more consistent. Because after 20 or so, after a night of grading 20 or so papers, you're not going to be as consistent. Like fatigue will set in, or frustration. And so this was a need of mine, especially over the summer, because I just had a baby, and that was taking up a lot of my time that I wanted to still deliver to the students. So not seeing anything, not finding anything on my search, I just kind of built one myself. It was pretty accessible. Just I built the framework using AI, and that was very, very good. And so now what I've got this tool that I can submit any number of assessments, any number of exams at a time, or assignments, or whatever, and just have it graded, even if it's handwritten. And each one of those, the output is going to be a personalized report for each and every one of those submissions. So that's been a huge time saver for me. It's been very good for the students too. The students actually really love it, because they get, a detailed report of their work. It's not just a check mark and like okay, or a circle. It's really, really detailed and broken down by question, what they did well, what they could work on in general, and maybe more importantly for me, the AI tool really doesn't matter, or doesn't mind if it's 30 assessments. It's not any more tired than it was during the first assessment. So there's a lot of consistency there. So I've really taken to that, and it's been kind of a game changer for me.
That's awesome. Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
I was going to ask a question for you, Jeremy. How did you present this to the students? Do they know that this is a tool that you're using? Do they know that you developed it? And what was their initial reaction to that, if you did tell them?
Oh yeah, I told them. Not bragging exactly, but I wanted them to know. This was over the summer, but I've been using it since, and every semester I kind of let them know. The report is not exactly watermarked, but it's got graded by AI tool. But I disclose it to them as well, and kind of pitching it to them. Not that it really needed to be pitched, but I just explained to them like, hey, I built this tool for grading your assessments, so just be aware of that. And the reason I also wanted to disclose it is because if the AI misreads something, like maybe it interprets a 6 as a 0 or something, and it just misreads it and it assigns anyway, they can appeal that stuff. So there's still like the human filter that it goes through, and before it reaches the student, and when it does, they're able to appeal to me, and I can manually grade the any erroneous stuff from there. But yeah, I do disclose it, and they're actually really excited about it.
Good. I've heard in some cases that students are irritated when faculty use AI, but I wonder if the approach for some people is different. Maybe they don't disclose it ahead of time and the students can tell that it's AI, or maybe they're using lower quality tools. I'm not sure, but I think being transparent is really important when we use tools like this, and also explaining how it can actually enhance what you're doing as a teacher, because it can offload some of that work so that you can spend more time on more meaningful feedback, or instruction, or whatever it is that you're doing.
And I don't I have kind of an open AI policy in my classes anyway. Like I use AI in the assignments themselves. Like I want them to build things, or look at more complex systems, something we couldn't easily do analytically at this level, but all of a sudden they can. So I use it. So I get them to use it. I think maybe the frustration might come if I said you can't use AI, but I
Right.
can.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that frustration would probably be misplaced. And I think anyone with a really great idea that wants to implement it will probably experience pushback because it's different, because we are changing the way that we teach, and because learning itself, the process of learning, has changed. And so I think we should be careful not to sort of mistake like pushback for evidence of that we've misstepped or something like that. Like going the right direction, 2026 and beyond might very much feel very different, novel, new, even scary to some extent. Jeremy, when I heard that you had the tool, it was exciting that someone at our college was pushing in this direction. I was really impressed with how just how deep the utilization was. Did you have coding experience before you built it?
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
did. So I'm pretty well versed in Python, a little bit in HTML, but really like the AI did a lot of the heavy lifting. Like
Right.
I was good enough. It would produce like a really big template, and then I could go in and sort of personalize it, make the tweaks that I really wanted. Because I was finding like just going back with the AI, trying to get it to do exactly what I wanted it to do, it would. Uh, it would struggle with that. It would like forget
Mm.
some key features and not
Hmm.
bring them over to the new version. So I just took basically the the output I got from my first prompt, and it was like, you know, a detailed prompt. But I could go in there and make sure that all the functionality was retained, and I just like modified little things. So yeah, I could read the output. I had it output in HTML and Python.
Gotcha. Well, I haven't coded since 8th grade, but I'm realizing now that I can't build something to the level of what you've built. But in my own instance, as an instructor working in the humanities, I was, just the other weekend, I've been playing around and developing sort of some in-class activities and, like little presentations, like Google AI Studio that I wanted to use in class. And so it's in the same way that sometimes making memes for me is sort of instructive, or it's sort of a learning exercise. I realized I could build a quick app to kind of do something or show something, right? And I'm doing it in plain language without any coding. Occasionally I'll go look at the code a little bit. But if I can do what I have done recently, which is sort of a very, very light version of what you've done, everyone kind of can, right? And so we have some really interesting tools. We have the ability to kind of build within our own context tools that help us teach more effectively. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And this might be a good time to kind of share my tab if we can do that. Perfect. So simple. And I built just a one-off kind of test case. And I'll shift over the tab here. Tool to evaluate an assignment in an online government class. And so this is a fake student response, and I'll go ahead and pull this out. Let's cancel. So I was able to just kind of vibe code with plain English, language on the left-hand side here, different features of evaluation using the rubrics I'd already built and labored over within the LMS, within Brightspace. I realized I wanted to probably be able to like paste text in if I were actually going to use something like this. And so that was as simple as just requesting that feature on the left-hand side. And so in Jeremy's instance, Jeremy's tool score-wise is big. There's a lot of optionality. It's really, really neat. It's really, really deep. This was so surface level. It was just easy to add these features. But on some level, it was doing so much more than I could do. Like I literally fell asleep grading blue books last night. Like I did do the thing that Jeremy was describing where I'm being uneven. But a tool like this is really, really promising because not only can it apply a rubric to a specific assignment, I'm using the learning outcomes tool in Brightspace. So I was having it check to apply my general grading rubric as a test case to identify whether students were satisfying competencies from the course guide, 3 of them. In addition, CLO, so common learning outcome, I was having it look for evidence that they had demonstrated critical thinking according to an institutional rubric. So there were 3 layers that I was looking for, and we'll kind of just run this real quick. And this is built in on our institutional, side within an institutionally adopted tool within the Google Workspace, Google AI Studio. And it also provided feedback, like sample feedback I could use. And so when I did this just as an experiment, I realized, look at how much it's doing. It can be a version, we can stop share there. It can do what I can do and be a second set of eyes and do it much more rapidly and uniformly. And then I realized I just kind of custom built this for one specific assignment, but there's so much context memory there that it could satisfy the whole course. I could call up from a select box the assignment I'm doing, right? And it could know which rubrics to apply in that context. And so I could build a tool just for my own course in Google AI Studio that cost me basically nothing, and have this second set of eyes on my instruction. Like I just had this breakthrough and I don't know how to code. And I'm stumped. I'm astounded by the possibilities here. I'm speechless. Shannon, help me. I'm speechless.
Sorry, I have a question. Do your students, do they get to see that report that was generated?
Oh, that's interesting. Right now, I haven't actually done it with a student yet. I just realized I could try it and built it, and so I haven't done it. And to your point, I think talking to students about this stuff is integral and foundational to helping teach AI literacy moving forward. So I think we must be talking to students about what's possible, the benefits. If we're talking to students at all about AI, yeah, we cannot avoid the conversation. So we should talk about their use, what's allowed, what's restricted, our use, what's ethical, what's not ethical. I think this should be really, really transparent conversation. So I haven't talked to students about this tool yet, but I've just done different experiments with different chatbots. I give students notebooks for the course and other things like that. So it's interesting the ways in which, in some respects, we're kind of on the cutting edge of this. We need to kind of show students kind of what we're doing, because the possibilities of these tools helping them with their learning are pretty incredible.
You know, you could potentially take that tool, if you can share it with your students, they could check their own work, which would be another layer that you could add to this.
Amazing idea. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what Jeremy was that what you were kind of driving at?
No.
Okay.
That's an excellent. Like I was coming at it the other way. I was like, okay, once you output that report, do they get like a screenshot of that? Do you copy and
It
paste
does look
the
good,
feedback,
right?
and
Like,
that sort of
so
thing?
that's
Yeah.
cool.
It does
So
look
for
good.
me, I think in my instance, I think I would want to look at their submission and verify that I agree with the AI's output, right? And so if it's a second set of eyes, do I like the sample feedback? So I'd be checking the AI's work if I were to implement. And I started talking with our registrar and our computer information services folks about making sure that that I can do this, right, in my instance. And so still exploring those questions, but at some point, and I know, Shannon, you were maybe going to talk about BRIS too. I think if you want to show us kind of what ScoreWise can do and kind of show us the possibilities, Jeremy, I think this today would be a good day to kind of show me what I don't know is possible.
Sure. If you want to pull up my screen here, basically, my software just works kind of the same way, really. I just added some more generality to it. So, I receive, say, a midterm exam from a student, and it's like all handwritten. Traditionally, that's really tough for an AI to read. But I would just go to my little ScoreWise tool and just tell it that, like, this is a physics exam. I've got a lot of other subjects there, but for me, like, I only care about physics and chemistry, and I just plop in the assignment itself, the assessment itself, all the student submissions, and the solution key, and then essentially from there, like, you can add custom AI instructions, and you can do the AI detection if there's multiple. In this instance, I only put in one submission, so it wouldn't really make sense to do that. But then you just hit that Start AI Grading button. I've already done that, and it just kind of brings you to the dashboard, where you get kind of an overall picture of the last 10 submissions, or dozen or so submissions, and you can download the report that was generated. So I already ran this, and the report that you get is just personalized to that student. So it tells them what their letter grade is, the breakdown by each kind of indicator, and some overall feedback, their score, and then it goes through, like, the details. It goes through each one of those questions and kind of tells them where they were good and where they could improve, and kind of justifies why their score was what it was, which again is really good for me. Like, I when I run this and I run through, I don't know, a dozen or so assessments, I'll get a dozen of these reports back, and I just kind of look through them and make sure that they pass the smell test, so to speak. If it's something that I would sign off on, just kind of looking at their submission and looking at what the AI has evaluated and ascribed to them. And if I think, yeah, that sounds pretty okay, then I send that report off to the student as the feedback.
Interesting. So you're passing that through the LMS. I think we're moving quickly beyond the era of like hallucination, right? A lot of people will want to say because AI is can sometimes hallucinate, that means we shouldn't go down these roads at all. But like I hallucinate sometimes, right? Like to some extent, right? Right. There's this human element that we're severely discounting, and we're always on some baseline level assuming that, like to your example of getting tired, right? Like we are always better than the AI. That it's not true. And furthermore, when left to our own choices, you mentioned having a baby. I got two little girls running around here on a snow day. We don't put as much work in as instructors as we would like to, because we are constrained. And so this can be feedback that otherwise would not have been received, right, in the context. I'm thinking about discussion, Shannon, within our LMS. We've got online classes where instructors just don't dare to tread because it seems like too much work to contribute in a meaningful way. And so this can plug a lot of holes that we are currently ignoring and that we've become normalized to. And so for that reason and that alone, it is worth plowing forward into the brave new frontier here.
Yeah. I think also you're thinking about writing classes. We really focus on process. And so going back to your tool, sharing it with the student and letting them check their own work is a way that I could see using it in a writing class that would work. You know, the AI conversation is trickier in a writing class, right? Because we can't offload writing. But if we could build a tool that would allow students to put in, let's say, a rough draft and get some feedback to help them with their revision that was really aligned with my rubrics and what we're looking for in our class, then that would save. Every writing instructor will tell you it's nearly impossible to give feedback on rough drafts with the turnaround time between the rough draft and the final, right? Yes. And so being able to give students a tool that would allow them to do that, and basically here's your robot version of me that will give you the feedback that will be very similar to what I would have given you anyway, is extremely valuable.
And you could probably then use it to actually evaluate, right? Like if it's a really good tool and the tool's working well, and all these LLMs are just so good, so fast on the back end, like that actually screams fairness to me. Like you had an opportunity to pass it through the system. You can verify and run it through the exact same system before or after. And if it matches, like it is, there's consent there in a really, really interesting way that I will explore. And that is a good idea. It's the kind of idea I need to put into AI, so don't forget it. And that's what
I'll be working on this weekend.
Yeah. Awesome. Real quick, I had another thought. We use, regarding that potential like pushback, like we have been using tools that automate things for us for a very long time as instructors, like going back to like bubble scantrons, right? Like we're trusting machines to do this. We choose textbooks because we ourselves want to offload indirect instruction, dating back decades and decades and decades. And we now more recently we use third-party tools, and Jeremy made reference to like integrations with the LMS, where there are AI tools constantly running. We've just become very, very normalized to them in the same way that we've become normalized to like autocorrect, like adaptive learning tools that suggest where the student should read based on what they got wrong in a quiz. That was something I saw 10, 15 years ago, right? And no one kind of panics about that. They want to panic about this because they see it's a sea change, because education is changing, and change is really, really scary. So into the brave unknown we go. Last thoughts, Shannon, or any what else should we talk about?
Do we have time to talk about Brisk briefly?
Let's show it. Yeah, you've had some experience with it.
So I'll share my screen, and this is a tool for those of you listening who aren't ready to build your own thing or to test out those waters. Brisk is a tool that you can pay for as an educator. I think it's $10 or $15 a month. It's not super expensive. And what it does is it gives you this little button that will appear. It was initially designed for Google products. So it works in Google Docs, but I believe now it also works in Word documents and maybe some other file formats as well. But essentially, if you've got a student essay, you can click this button, and you've got a bunch of different options here. It will go into helping you build lesson plans and things like that. But for this purpose, we'll look at the feedback. You can do batch feedback where you upload student work, and then it will review it all at once. Or you can do targeted feedback, which is what I normally do. I'll click on this, and then I've already got some prompt in here, and I've already uploaded a rubric. You can change the level. So this was also built for K-12 use, so you can go all the way through that. You can even align it to standards if you're K-12 and you need to follow specific state standards. And then we can click the brisket button, and you'll see it's going to go through and pull a Google comment in for basically each level of the rubric, each criteria on the rubric.
That's neat.
It puts these in as drafts. So there's always a human element here. Even if you do batch feedback, you have to review each one before you can publish it. So once it's done with the comments, then I go through and I will read the entire piece as well and make sure that I agree with the comments. Honestly, most of the benefit here is that it saves me the time of typing, right? Because I find that mostly the comments are spot on to what I want to say. Sometimes they're a little longer than what I want, and I'll cut them a little bit, but for the most part, they're typically pretty good. So then you can just click comment and save them, or you can cancel them if you don't want them. You can also do other types of feedback. For example, let's see. You can do this glows and grows feedback, which will give the student sort of a table of feedback. Oops. Give it a second. Go. So strengths, areas for improvement, and next steps, basically.
And will that show up as a comment as well?
You can insert or you can copy. Yeah, we'll insert it.
Okay, gotcha.
It normally, shows up. Wherever your cursor is, it will insert it. So I really like this tool. I think it works really well for people who are maybe just getting into AI or who aren't ready to go in and try to build something. This is a great tool. It also has a couple of other features. For example, it will it's not AI detection necessarily, but it will let you look at the student's writing process. So you can see how long they spent in the document, how many edits they made. It kind of gives you a little video, almost like a GIF of their process. So if you're concerned about authenticity, or you want to know if they actually spent any time on the revision, you can come back in here and quickly get a sense as to how much effort they put into the work.
Nice. And I think you'd mentioned in one context that you're teaching, this is like integrated into an LMS or something like that, or it can be. Is that right?
No, that actually is a different tool.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There are some similar tools out there that can pass assignments and grades back and forth between LMS through the LMS. Yeah, this is cool. Not one of them though.
And so for ScoreWise, Jeremy, you're manually passing that report to the student like through the LMS. Is that kind of how you deliver it?
Yeah. So the output is just a PDF report, and I just attach that to their feedback within the LMS.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Neat. Okay. Well, cool. We've showed off like a lot of different kind of novel ways. Like we're in this new era where you can build your own software. And so like the proliferation of options and like opportunities for how we can become better teachers is kind of unlimited here, which is really, really exciting. So I'm going to keep vibe coding, even though I don't know what I'm doing. Jeremy, how do folks find out more about ScoreWise?
Well, I don't know really. It's just kind of a new tool. It is published, so if you go to scorewiseai.com, that'll give you the breakdown of it. But no, it's more just kind of a personal tool for now anyway. But gotcha. Yeah, it is open to the public. So ScoreWise AI.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Thanks everyone.